Hi, I'm Margarita Walter. I live in New York in the Westchester County area, and in 2001 I filed for divorce as a result of my ex-husband at that time having a problem staying home, not coming home, and not being involved at all in our three children's lives. I retained an attorney that was super expensive, but through unrelated sources, he was the right guy. Okay? And about a year into his representation, I realized that I was not being able to support my family, even though he said that he was going to file a pendente lite, and that never happened. And I was going more and more into debt.
Explain.
A pendente lite is a court order financial instrument that obligates the moneyed spouse to pay the non-moneyed spouse, which typically is the mom, a certain amount of money in order to satisfy the normal and recurring expenses to run the household. And there's also a caveat that it maintains the pre-separation lifestyle in a customary fashion. So when I wasn't getting that for over a year or so, and I realized that there were some other things going on that didn't seem right, like my lawyer wasn't returning any of my phone calls, whatever. I brought that up to his attention, and that became, a serious issue, as far as poor legal representation. In the interim, the judge that had been on the bench left. My case, as well as many others, were turned over to this other referee, and who's not a judge. And I again thought that he was going to handle the case in a just way, and as it turns out, shortly after the case was turned over and there were settlement conferences that were scheduled, I was precluded from being involved in them, and they were about equitable distribution and custody issues, which are the two main issues in my divorce action. So I discharged that attorney. I then proceeded to try to get this referee to allow me to use some money from my own line of equity for the scheduled trials on custody and equitable distribution, and he refused. And I went to trial, and there was an individual sitting in the back room, and I was forced to use him as my legal counsel. I didn't know him. He had no idea about anything of my case. And a retainer agreement was literally faxed to the courtroom, and I had to sign it with, of course, a zero retainer because I was penniless. And $85,000 later, after the trial, this attorney wanted money. I also discovered, let me go back a little bit. I wanted this referee removed from my case because I realized, he was doing things that didn't make any sense as far as justice was concerned, or fairness, and he refused to. I brought it up to the administrative judge, and there was no response. I then discovered that in my paperwork in the files in court, that there was a document missing that would have authorized this referee to get in my case in the first place. And not only was it missing, I also need to mention that there was a letter showing a consensus between the two attorneys agreeing that this specific individual handled my divorce action, which is completely in violation of statutory law. In fact, on the face of that statute, it says that you cannot assign a referee in this fashion because it will lead to collusive reference, to a collusive reference, which is in fact what, you know, unfolded in my case. There was jurisdictional defects that were erroneously cured, you know, by non-per-tunc order of references, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is that I was very, very firm about the level of corruption, and insisted that someone really should do something about it. And I did get a hold of a lot of people through different organizations who had this similar situation where they became penniless, that they couldn't buy medication for their children. My particular case, my one child has asthma, and I could not give her the medication that she gets dispensed 3 times a day. But what's ironic is that my husband is financially capable of affording the lifestyle that we had prior to our separation, and more. You know, we live in a very affluent area. There was a family plan that I stay home to raise the children. I had some medical issues that I was afflicted with in the interim, which caused further, you know, problems. And nonetheless, he's a very well-to-do individual that could certainly afford all the necessities of normal living. I didn't have gas to even go to an attorney's office. There was no oil for the kids, and I needed to boil water for their baths. I couldn't buy clothes for them. I had to appeal to the school to get free lunches, or, you know, lunches paid by public funding, and camps, again, paid by public grants. I could not afford any field trips for them. Again, Thanksgiving, I could not have any reunions. People from the town were literally coming in and helping me to get a turkey for my children, to celebrate the different festivities. It was really absolutely crazy. I also felt that despite my financial situation, and despite emotionally I was being assaulted and battered right and left, I knew that something wasn't right, and I spoke to all the different high-level court individuals, and finally someone did listen. After I got involved with the media, and I was in the New York Post on April 10th, 2006, and the title of the article is Judge Hates Women. There was no question gender bias, where at-home moms specifically were attacked. The referee in particular had done a seminar at Pace University Center, whereby he had coined a phraseology of 10583 syndrome, which is a Scarsdale zip code. The implication is that at-home moms have a sense of entitlement from their husbands, which of course is an absolute outrage. The entitlement for my children's well-being and to provide for myself for a period of time is not entitlement. It's justice, which indeed we are entitled to. In any event, by virtue of that media exposure and the extent of the complaints, the Office of Court Administration in New York got involved and did another investigation of their own and determined that indeed those complaints had validity. And on June 26, 2006, the New York Law Journal reported the revamping of the divorce court, which is unprecedented in the United States as a result of the public raising serious issues of improper practices in the court system. I thought that that was going to be helpful for me. And during a 3-month period from the time that happened, actually I was in court on the day of the revamping, and there was total chaos. The attorneys didn't know what floor to go to. The judges were all new. They had absolutely no idea. My 10 o'clock appearance started at actually 12 o'clock. And he was the supervisor of the matrimonial part, and the newly assigned one. Over the 3 months, there was a lot of litigation in this new court, and finally, after 7 years of being in the legal battle against my very, very vindictive husband, and also empowered by the corrupt legal system, including the officers of the court, which are the lawyers and the referees and judges, which were working in concert. In fact, there's also a federal investigation on the level of racketeering concurrent with what happened on state level. Well, finally, I thought I would get, some fairness, and indeed, I got a favorable ruling on October 10th, 2006, which financially obligated my husband to a certain amount of money for an extended period of time, subject to the appellate coming up with a decision. 3 days later, under the pretense of protecting my 3 children, they were removed, and that was 15 months ago, and that was the last time I saw them. There's a stay away order. I had absolutely no hearing with due process, absolutely no equal protection. I am totally invisible. I am now at the appellate court with the grace of our Lord. I was granted poor person's relief that I've been requesting, and while that may sound peculiar that I'm so pleased about being poor when I wasn't before this divorce action began, at least I'll get assigned counsel. And I'm hoping that that's going to be a progressive move. The equitable distribution is still in the appellate level, and I'm very hopeful that the truth, as far as that all the indebtedness should not go to me, the non-money spouse, and that even if I were to sell everything I had, I'd still remain poor. That there would be some fairness in equalizing the equitable distribution as it was intended to be by law. Thank you.